Welcome to CAN, Caribbean Affiliate News. My name is Stefan Samuel. Here are the stories that we are following today, August 27th, 2013. In international news, in Syria, the U.S. says military is ready for action. Zimmerman seeks over $300,000 over Trayvon trial. 8 months after the massacre, Newton students begin new school year. All Liberia students failed their exams. Palestinian wants to halt peace talks after Israeli troops kill 3 protesters. And in South Africa, hit by wave of strikes. A Toronto man is also charged after allegedly making threats on a plane. And a love story, a U.S. couple die 11 hours apart after 65 years of marriage. Details on these headlines and more when we return.
Hey, excuse me, if you see me smiling, that's 'cause I'm chilling on Total Caribbean Network. It's your boy Wyclef Zimmerman, and I'm chillin', man. Total Caribbean Network. Man, I love their style. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Welcome back to CAN, Caribbean Affiliate News. My name is Stefan Samuel. This segment of the news is sponsored by Total Caribbean Network. In international news, the U.S. Defense Secretary says his country is ready to go if Barack Obama orders action in Syria as the UK recalls Parliament over the crisis. Britain's armed forces are drawing up plans for a potential military intervention in response to an alleged toxic gas in Damascus, which is said to have killed 1,300 people. U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel said Mr. Obama asked the Pentagon to give him all options for all contingencies. We are prepared, he says. We have moved assets in place to be able to fulfill and comply with whatever option the president wishes to take, Mr. Hagel said. Mr. Cameron, who is back in London after cutting short his family holiday, says a clear motion on the crisis will be put before MPs on Thursday. He wrote on Twitter, "Speaker agrees my request to recall Parliament on Thursday. There will be a clear government motion and vote on UK response to chemical weapons attacks." Sky's Foreign Affairs editor Tim Marshall said any potential action would be a punch on the nose for the Assad regime. "I don't think the U.S. is ready for Assad to go because they are frightened of who would take his place. But Syria insists it will not submit quietly to an attack. I quote, "We have 2 options, either to surrender or to defend ourselves with the means at our disposals," said Syrian Foreign Minister Walid Moallem. "The second choice is best we will defend ourselves." Snipers shot at the UN team on Monday, but the inspectors still managed to collect some valuable samples. The UN inspections will take place on Wednesday instead. Earlier, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said, "Syria's use of chemical weapons was undeniable." Syria denies using chemical weapons, and Moscow, which supplies arms to Syria, has backed claims that video footage of victims could be opposition propaganda. George Zimmerman, who was acquitted of the murder of unarmed teen Trayvon Martin, is to ask Florida to pay up over $300,000 for his legal expenses. Because Mr. Zimmerman was not convicted, state law requires Florida to pay all legal costs, excluding his lawyer fees. He cannot reclaim fees for lawyers but is entitled to reimbursement of auxiliary costs. Legal costs incurred include fees for expert witnesses, travel expenses, depositions, photocopies, and the production of a 3D video shown to jurors in the 5-week trial. Lawyers for Mr. Zimmerman are still calculating the exact cost, but said it would likely range between over $200,000 and $300,000. State agencies spent an estimated $900,000 on the trial that ended on July 13th. Mr. Zimmerman's lawyer told the Orlando Sentinel that he would ask Circuit Judge Deborah Nelson to authorize the payments. Mark O'Mara said a motion is in the works. Mr. Zimmerman, who is 29 years old, was acquitted of all charges, including second-degree murder in the shooting of a 17-year-old boy in February last year. The Neighborhood Watch Guard's high-profile murder trial lasted 5 weeks and drew international attention after the killing of the unarmed teen. It also sparked intense debate and protest in the U.S. over racial tension and the justice system. Trayvon, the boy who was murdered, emerged as a reoccurring symbol at the protests of continued unequal treatments of blacks and other minorities, and images of a teenager were displayed on T-shirts, posters, signs, and buttons. The move for legal fee reimbursement comes just days after Trayvon's mother was among the speakers at Saturday's event marking the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedoms. At the gathering in Washington, D.C., supporters called for a repeal of the controversial Florida Stand Your Ground law that they say allowed Mr. Zimmerman to walk free. Meanwhile, the head of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People announced petitions would be handed in calling for Mr. Zimmerman to be charged for violating Trayvon's civil rights. The NAACP president, Ben Jealous, said his organization has collected petitions with more than 1.7 million signatures calling on the Department of Justice to pursue charges against Mr. Zimmerman. Mr. Jealous continues to say about 1 million of the signatures collected were sent by mobile phone and many were from young people. Students from Sandy Hook Elementary School, the site of a mass shooting that inflamed the U.S. debate on gun control, begins a new school year on Tuesday, today, 8 months after the rampage that left 20 young students and 6 faculty and staff dead. The students will continue their studies at the former Chalk Hill School, which in January became their school's temporary home, as the community waits for authorities to tear down the massacre site and rebuild a new structure due to open in the time for the 2016 school year. Last December, 20-year-old Adam Lanza, who had grown up in Newton, shot and killed his mother and then shot his way into Sandy Hook Elementary School, where he killed 26 people before turning a gun on himself. The sheer youth of Lanza's victims, mostly 6- and 7-year-olds, stunned the nation. The massacre inspired a package of national gun control measures in Congress, as well as calls for better security in schools, including the presence of armed guards. The bill, which included a ban on assault weapons and expanding the use of background checks for gun purchases, were ultimately rejected after lawmakers decided they would have interfered with Americans' right to bear arms. Several U.S. states, including Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey, have passed laws tightening gun ownership requirements since the attack. In Liberia, nearly 25,000 school leavers failed the test for admission to the University of Liberia, one of 2 state-run universities. Here is Siobhan Gobin with more on the story.
Liberia's education minister says she finds it hard to believe that not a single candidate passed this year's university admission exam. Nearly 25,000 school leavers failed the test for admission to the University of Liberia, one of 2 state-run universities. The students lacked enthusiasm and did not have a basic grasp of English, a university official told reporters. Liberia is recovering from a brutal civil war that ended a decade ago. President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, a Nobel Peace Laureate, recently acknowledged that the education system was still in a mess and much needed to be done to improve it. Many schools lack basic education material and teachers are poorly qualified, reports the BBC's Jonathan Paylele, reports from the capital, Monrovia. However, this is the first time that every single student who wrote the exam for a fee of $25 has failed. It means that the overcrowded university will not have any new first-year student when it reopens next month for the academic year. Students told reporters the result was unbelievable and their dreams had been shattered. Education Minister Edmonia David Tarpe told reporters Focus on Africa program that she intended to meet university officials to discuss the failure rate. And I quote, "I know there are a lot of weaknesses in the schools, but for a whole group of people to take exams and every single one of them to fail, I have my doubts about that," says Mrs. David Tarpe. "It's like mass murder." Ms. David Tarpe says she knew some of the students and the schools they attended. "These are not just schools that will give people grades. I'd really like to see the results of the students," she added. University spokesman Mamoudou Getawaye told BBC Focus on Africa that the university stood by its decision and it would not be swayed by emotion. And I quote, "In English, the mechanics of the language, they didn't know anything about it, so the government has to do something," he says. "The war has ended 10 years ago now. We have to put that behind us and become realistic." This is Siobhan Gobain reporting for Caribbean Affiliate News.
You are watching Caribbean Affiliate News. We will be right back.
Hey, excuse me, if you see me smiling, that's 'cause I'm chilling on Total Caribbean Network. It's your boy Wyclef Zimmerman and I'm chillin', man. Total Caribbean Network. Man, I love their style. Whoa, 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 whoa.